How has teaching changed my perspective?
Give us
I think what's changed about how I teach is that I focus less on what I think I can teach, and I'm more on what I think I can learn. So I've learned so much from so many remarkable young people that every time I come at it for another new year, I get more excited about just creating circumstances where I can learn. And every year it's different. And it doesn't always work perfectly. And I find that when it doesn't work perfectly, I learn even more.
Yes.
What sort of things have not worked perfectly in the past?
Well, geez, you know, like every week I try to do something new all the time. So something occurs to me and I think it's going to be a great idea, so I just throw it out there. Particularly if it's a class that maybe isn't as excited about learning as maybe this class is. So I tried something yesterday where I put together a bunch of moments in time around. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nice to see you. Moments of the CPR, and I thought by giving all of these different perspectives without any real notes, just moment after moment of clips of sort of moments like that would be really cool, and they would get right into it. And I think it probably didn't work well, which is too bad because now I got to follow that up. But I also think if you can get to a place where there's a certain trust with your students, where you can where you can fail and they're okay with that, they know you tried something, you're upfront about it, and it didn't work out. If you can get that kind of permission, then you can do great things. So, yeah, but I also have to be willing to, that goes two ways. I have to be willing to let students try things that don't work. And I think we've done that. I think we've had those moments.
Question, Michelle.
Yeah, was there an event or something that made you want to start the Institute for Global Solutions?
Yeah, there was. I was teaching English, and we were doing the chrysalids. Are you familiar with the chrysalids?
No.
It's a post-apocalyptic book. So something horrible has happened. In this case, it was a all-out nuclear war. This is 100 years after the war, and there are all kinds of people with deformities. Some of them are visible deformities, and if you're visibly deformed when you're born, you're killed. So this whole society has now adopted this idea that deformities are bad, even though it was not the fault of the person who was born, but some of them have extra sensory perception. They can talk to one and each other without. So I showed a film of a play about a very realistic feeling situation where a vice president took over a president who died and unilaterally made a decision to launch a nuclear weapon on Baghdad. This was during the time around the first Iraq War. So we got into a discussion about the use or the problem with nuclear weapons, and a girl at the back, it was a grade 9 or 10 course, said, "Why do we have nuclear weapons anyway?" And it was like a knife to the heart, because it was such a brilliant question, and it was a perfect example of how kids think differently than adults. No adults would say that, because they assume that there must be some reason, or they're just not willing to think that deeply about it. And she asked that question, my answer was, that's a great question. In fact, it's a better question than most adults would be capable of coming up with. There was 10 minutes left, and I had felt like I needed to go into more curriculum, and I don't think she ever got the proper answer for her question. And that's when it occurred to me that there needed to be something where we just talked about really big issues. Because if adults aren't talking with young people about really big issues, I think that's a problem. And I think it's almost more scary because the conversations aren't being had. Even if the answers that I give, are scary. And then, naturally that sort of flowed in when Mr. Mitchell arrived into the Institute for Global Solutions, where we took those challenges and focused them.
Question here.
In your teen years, what was one decision that you made that you felt like changed your life?
High school. I didn't drink till I was right at the very end of high school. And it didn't make me very popular because I was a bit preachy about it. I mean, it doesn't, if you go sober to a party and watch how people behave, it doesn't take long to start feeling preachy. I think back at it now and I think it was probably the right decision because I might have done stupid things. I was very immature when I was in high school. I was a good kid, but I was a late bloomer. What I learned from Mandy Evans, if I was to ask her a question now, I would want to know why she stopped that one day and talked to me. Because for me, that was a life-changing moment. And it was, she wasn't getting anything out of that moment. She wasn't trying to date me, unfortunately. There was no reason for her to stop other than to just be kind, and because she must have known that would have a big impact. I'd be fascinated to know why that was true. Now, if it was me, I wished I'd had more courage than I did then. But she was also about 8 inches taller than me. I was intimidated, I guess.
Is there anything you wish you could have done differently?
Yes.
You can get away with just saying yes. That's no question.
There's just so many things I would do differently. There are moments in life where I wish I had made a different decision, and mostly because I think I, at the time, quite unwittingly hurt somebody and made their lives harder without getting into specifics. And I would do, there's probably, it's not a ton of those moments, but there is a couple. And I wish I could have them back. Because I sure as hell would not want to make anyone's life harder, particularly if their life was hard already. And I know that's happened. And I give just about it. I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could be, when I made the decision to be a teacher at 22, I was volunteering in an orphanage in El Salvador. It was the middle of a civil war. I would love to start there again, making exactly the same decision, but then how that played out, I would love to do again, knowing what I know now. I'd give anything for that time, because with age comes wisdom, and you get a chance to rethink decisions that you made, and I wish I could have those back. I think a big part of being a teacher, for me anyway, and I know for a lot of teachers that I work with, that we're almost playing out we're trying to get back those moments that we know we can't have back by making sure the moments that you have are more positive, and to try to help you go along and maybe in a better way. And I get to do that, so I feel very lucky that I get to play that out with kids year in and year out. I feel like it's the greatest honor ever.
Right here. Go.
Is there any other path you wish?
I want to be that guy. If I could do it again, I would do what he's doing right now. And I think, I was probably too young to really understand how that would have been a big decision, but I was also taking apart stuff. I, to this day, love to build stuff. I don't have the background. I think if I had to do it again, I would do what he's doing. But then I feel like I would end up teaching what he's doing instead of actually doing it. I would do it for a while, but I feel like I would always have ended up back teaching it.
He teaches at most of them as well. Just
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I bet he's good at it.
Yeah, they are.
How did you meet Mr. Mitchell?
I met him because he wrote this amazing course, Sustainability 11 and 12. And I assumed that he was at least as old as me and probably a little bit more mature. And I carried that with me for about 2 or 3 years. I actually referenced him when I gave this proposal to the university to, if you do an interdisciplinary master's degree, you have to actually justify this, and UVic has to decide that that's an okay degree. You have to essentially do all the work ahead of time so everybody supports you. You gotta get professors in line, everything's there. So I quoted him really early on in my proposal to the university. And when I met him, it was here in the hallways just outside of the Learning Commons. And I thought, there's no way that could be Graham Mitchell. That super good looking little punk who it turns out is 15 years younger than me. That's him. There's no way. And at first I didn't even follow up with him all that much other than say, hey, we should really talk sometime. And that was it. And that was the moment. So I guess it took me a while to wrap my head around that a young man like that could see so clearly and have so much wisdom, even though he was just a punk. I know you're watching this. I'm pointing to camera.
What do you want to get out of the upcoming election
I knew something was going to happen.
if you get elected?
If I get elected. Even if I don't get elected,
Sure, answer both.
I'm gonna say that I need to be careful about this because it's on camera. If we had the biggest youth voter turnout in Saanich South, but I didn't get elected, that would be okay. Because what I want to ultimately do is engage a bunch of young people in ways that we have never seen. I'd literally like to cause that ripple. If that means I get elected, awesome. I'll get a chance to do more. But I think just that happening would be, I don't think you could turn it back. And you know, if I get elected, then I will be able to follow that up because it was announced this morning that I am the advocate for youth and intergenerational equity. Thank you. It's my job to do exactly what I just described and to make sure that the decisions that we make are long-term decisions. So I'm in a perfect place and no other party has that rule. I didn't invent it either. It was invented for me. So if that idea can really take off, that'd be amazing.
I think that's a good point to end. Thank you.
Yeah.